The original Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance was a surprisingly entertaining combination of hack-and-slash dungeon crawling and simple character customization that also featured some of the best-looking graphics to be seen on the PS2 at the time. It may not be as impressive today, but Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2 will surely satisfy players looking for more of the same well-crafted, accessible action RPG experience. The first Dark Alliance ended with a rather wicked cliffhanger, and Dark Alliance 2 dutifully picks things up from there. The three heroes from Dark Alliance appear in the opening cinematic and are swiftly captured by the wicked vampire king Mordok, who plans to use the fallen Onyx Tower of Eldritch the Betrayer for his own nefarious purposes. Dark Alliance 2's somewhat convoluted story makes plenty of references to the first game, but the game is still fun even if you're new to the series. Dark Alliance 2 offers you an all-new cast of 5. The Human Barbarian, the Dark Elf Monk, the Moon Elf Necromancer, the Dwarven Rogue, and the Human Cleric. Each has their own innate proficiencies that make the experience different depending on what you play with. And if you've got a friend who's willing to commit the 9 hours or so it'll take you to finish the game, Dark Alliance 2 lets you play through the game as a 2-player cooperative team. Though the ability to play as a party of 4, or the inclusion of online support would have been nice, the co-op mode still proves to be great fun. The main focus in Dark Alliance 2 is on questing. Each quest sends you through a dungeon or dungeon-type environment, fighting monsters and plundering treasure, and usually culminates in a boss fight. The action is straightforward, with melee and magic attacks issued in real time. It's not fundamentally different from the first game, and you still basically just mash on the attack button, but Dark Alliance 2 does refine the formula a bit by allowing you to dual-wield weapons, making it easier to switch between single-handed, double-handed, and ranged weapons on the fly, and making ranged weapons a more attractive option by adding a standard aiming guideline and including unlimited ammo. Carrying out quests and slaughtering monsters earns you experience, which you can spend on attributes and abilities. These advancements range from subtle increase in attack rate to new magic spells. The customization isn't incredibly deep, but 2 players using the same character class who dole out their experience points differently can create 2 fairly divergent characters. The game does a pretty good job of ramping up the difficulty at the same rate you gain experience, keeping things from being too easy or too difficult. You'll also pick up loads of booty while dungeon crawling, including rings, amulets, jewels, potions, armor, weapons, and, of course, gold coins. You have a limited carrying capacity, and you'll regularly have to unload at Baldur's Gate resident shopkeeper, which is easily accomplished with the help of a recall potion. You can also buy basic weapons and armor there, though better equipment usually awaits you in the dungeons. New to Dark Alliance 2 is the Workshop, where you can take existing pieces of weaponry and armor and equip them with special runestones and jewels. Every combination yields different results, and if you spend time to figure out the effects of each gem, you'll be able to craft weapons and armor of unparalleled power. In Dark Alliance, you had to either find or buy the best weapons. Now, you can just build them yourself. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance was a great-looking PlayStation 2 game when it was released in December of 2001. A little more than 2 years later, Dark Alliance 2 hasn't done much to improve the overall fidelity of the graphics, which leaves it looking a little bit dated. The differences between the graphics in the PlayStation 2 and Xbox versions are noticeable, with the Xbox version sporting cleaner special effects and slightly sharper textures. If you have to pick between the two, definitely go with the Xbox version. The game's sound design seems befitting of a Dungeons & Dragons game. There's plenty of spoken dialogue littered with quasi-medieval language, all delivered in an appropriately serious tone by a skilled cast of voice actors. The orchestrated score is grand and sweeping, and swells to a crescendo whenever you encounter a big boss, although sometimes the music will start picking up some steam for no real apparent reason. The effects that accompany magic and melee attacks are satisfying, and your character will regularly shout out assorted battle cries in the heat of battle. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance was an RPG for people who did not like RPGs, and its sequel does a fine job of maintaining that same design philosophy. The ending is a little unsatisfying, and the actual adventure is a little short, but the game offers plenty of replay value with 5 different character classes and a really enjoyable cooperative mode. If this is the final installment for the Dark Alliance name, it's not a perfect ending, but it's still pretty good. For an in-depth look at Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2, check out my full-text review.